Let's talk about how to get rid of mental clutter. So, in last week's video, Clutter versus Calling, I talked about how there's three types of clutter. So, there's number one is inner clutter, that's mental clutter. Number two is outer clutter, that is the physical clutter in our environment and digital clutter. And then number three is others clutter. And I'll talk about that in a future video. But types one and three contribute to type two. So I wanted to talk about mental clutter this week and the number one source of it and how it's probably not what you think. That's a pun. The definition of mental clutter is all of the unnecessary thoughts we think that are overwhelming us, slowing us down, and exhausting us mentally, contributing to the physical clutter. But what is creating the mental clutter? I did not understand this for years, that because I was so identified with my thoughts, I never separated and asked, wait, where are my thoughts coming from? What's creating my mental clutter? And so then I didn't realize that my mental clutter was part of the reason why I had such a problem with my physical clutter. All right, so mental clutter, it's not the random thoughts that pop willy-nilly into our minds. It's not the social media or the algorithm out or the outrage that the algorithm is constantly feeding us. And it's not even other people's opinions. Although definitely all three of those things add fuel to the fire. In fact, I'm thinking about doing a video soon about creators, critics, and consumers, and us identifying who we are and who the other people are in our lives so we don't get distracted by the critics and the consumers. But the real number one source of mental clutter is something that's within our control. And I'm talking about unmade decisions. So if you are an ambitious woman running a business or a ministry and you feel like you never have enough time or energy, then I made this video for you. Because anything that exhausts you instead of supporting you is not only diminishing your enjoyment, but it's also diminishing the impact that you were created to have in this world. Because truly, our enjoyment of our calling, our business, our ministry, whatever we've been given to do, whatever's been put into our hands to do, our enjoyment is a part of that picture. The more that we enjoy it, the more that we are shining a light to other people that, hey, our God is good. And the more attractive, the more magnetic it even makes us. So it's beautiful how God just baked into the entire system that enjoyment enhances our impact into the world. So don't think that your enjoyment is optional. Sometimes it's the missing ingredient to the impact that you're desiring to have in life. All right, so let's go on. What is mental clutter exactly? So we think 40 to 60,000 thoughts a day. That is a crazy number. But I call mental clutter the things that we involuntarily think about that rob us of our ability to actually act or enjoy the present moment. And it can show up in three different ways. Number one is the overthinking and the open loops. Those are the worry cycles that just won't quit. Number two, it's the unwanted thoughts demanding our attention, the open mental tabs that we are constantly carrying around because we just haven't decided something. And then number three, it's anything that steals our agency. Our agency is our ability to act, or our enjoyment of something that we were going to be doing anyway. So it leaves you feeling scattered, drained, or stuck. So it's those things that grab our attention and we can't seem to let them go. This is one of the reasons why I told my husband, hey, listen, right before bed, we only need to talk about good things, like nothing outrageous, nothing like, can you believe this is going on in the world? Why? Because no, once I start thinking about something, My mind doesn't want to stop thinking about it until I come to a solution. And so to stop that mental clutter from happening right before bed, I made a decision ahead of time. Let's not talk about these things in the last 15 minutes of consciousness. Let's talk about these things earlier in the day, if we can possibly do that. So that's the solution, and I'm going to get deeper into that in just a second. But first of all, let's talk about what it's costing us to have these unmade decisions in our life. So the unmade decisions are very expensive, and they're costing us greatly in three different ways. Number one, unmade decisions actually are manifested as physical clutter. If you have a pile of mail on your kitchen counter like I do right now, that is a pile of unmade decisions. What should I do about this letter, about this coupon? Should I throw it away or answer it? Do I need to save it? Where should I save it? Lots of unmade decisions. But number two, unmade decisions have us wasting massive mental energy. Each unmade decision is like cracking open your window on a warm day while the air conditioning is running. All that energy is going out the window and the house is not getting cool. Your brain is just working harder and harder. Anytime I have a client that gets on a call with me and they feel overwhelmed, I know we're probably looking for unmade decisions that they may not even have identified yet, but it's overwhelming them, exhausting them, keeping them stuck. With an unmade decision, you're doing a lot of thinking, but it's not actually accomplishing anything. So it feels like a computer processor that's just running too hard. And then number three, and this is the greatest long-term cost, is that unmade decisions actually force us to live our lives in default instead of with intention. So this is when we look busy, but we're not actually feeling productive. We don't actually feel like we accomplished something when we look back at the last week or the last month. I read a book called Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. And Napoleon Hill estimated that 98% of people are in this state, living in default mode instead of with intention. That statistic blew my mind. But then I realized, oh, that's how rare it is to live with intention. And if we can be one of the rare ones that live with intention instead of default, oh my goodness, game over. We will change our lives, we'll change our family lives, we'll change the lives of all the people around us. And so this video is definitely speaking to you if you want to be one of those 2% that lives life by intention instead of default. So, and what you're going to discover is this. This is the key for you to live out your greater sense of calling, for you to be highly capable, highly ambitious, without being constantly depleted, constantly drained. The most capable women in the world should not also be the most exhausted. All right, so how to deal with mental clutter. And the simplest way to reduce mental clutter is to make decisions ahead of time. Decide ahead of time what to think about, how to think about it, or what we're going to do. So make long-term decisions. Here's a silly example, but it's been profoundly effective in my life. For 2 or 3 years, I've been thinking about growing out my hair, just thinking about it. And then right before my hair appointment would roll around, I'm like, I'm so tired of this. And I would have my hairstylist cut my hair short again. Go back to the same style that I've had for 6 or 8 years. Until I decided ahead of time, you know what I'm going to do? I am going to grow out my hair until I turn 50. That was 14 months away when I made that decision. And then I will be able to see my hair in many different styles during that time. And when I turn 50, then I will celebrate by redeciding how do I want my hair to look like for the next decade. That's what I'm talking about, decisions ahead of time. As soon as I decided that, it calmed all of the hairstyling chatter that I had been unconsciously carrying. Okay, so like I said, that is a silly example, but this is what I'm talking about. Deciding ahead of time what we're going to think about. I didn't want to think about my hair all the time. I wanted to be one and done, and that's why I kept on reverting back to the default hairstyle I'd had for like 6 or 8 years. But I also use that skill to decide ahead of time and get out of that rut. All right. This is also, I learned this deciding ahead of time what to think about from Philippians 4:8. So Philippians 4 is a fascinating chapter, and it was such a beneficial chapter for me because it tells you not to worry and rejoice. And again, I say rejoice. And then it says this in verse 8, finally, brethren, whatsoever things are true, honest, just, pure, lovely, or of good report, if there be any virtue and if there be any praise, think on these things. As in, if it's beneficial to you and if it's helpful, if it's truthful, if it's beautiful, then those are the things that you should be spending your time thinking about. So decide ahead, what are the topics that you want to be thinking about? For me, the things that I wanted to be thinking about are my family, my growing my business, how to use my gifts and my skills and my calling to benefit others. And I wanted to be thinking about things that I wanted to actively be learning about. But also a list of things that I did not want to be thinking about. I don't want to be consumed by the social media outrage. I don't actually want to be consumed by all of the Hollywood gossip, even though I had a habit of clicking on them every time they offered me stories about certain celebrities. I'm like, oh, yes, please. Do tell me what Princess Catherine is wearing. I still click on those because I love fashion. But deciding ahead of time what to think about and how to think about it. So that means deciding ahead of time that I want to think about my business in a way that is productive instead of a way that is exhausting me. Or like when I'm making these YouTube videos and growing my YouTube channel, I want to think about YouTube in a way that is productive instead of worrying about views or just default thinking of the compare and despair trap. So that's what I'm talking about, thinking ahead of time. Now, how can we do this? Well, I have a simple daily practice for you. I do this exact practice anytime I'm feeling overwhelmed. I do this exact practice with my clients anytime they are feeling too overwhelmed to act in their life. It's just got 3 steps. It only takes 5 to 10 minutes. Step number 1 is the download. Download everything that's on your mind. Just get it on a piece of paper and be really honest about it. You don't have to polish up these thoughts. They're only for you to read. So I do it digitally on my iPad. I use GoodNotes, by the way. And I just did it on Monday, set my intentions for the entire week. So I wrote down every single thing that was on my mind. So that clears up some mental bandwidth. Then number 2 is you decide ahead of time what really matters. So I put stars around the things that are most important, the things that are truly belonging to me. Some of these things that I downloaded are worries that I have that worrying about it. So I put stars next to the things that you are intentionally thinking about. And then step number 3 is decide what to do about everything on the list, okay? But starting with your stars. So you want to turn everything into a task that you can do or a thought that you can upgrade, elevate, or something that you can delete or delegate. So everything else on that list, maybe it can be delegated, maybe it can be deleted. You just don't even need to worry about it. It's just good to see, oh, I was worried about that, but that's going to take care of itself in its own time. Or no, this is the next step of what I can do about this thing. Look for any unmade decisions on that list and simply take the time to make a decision. Your decision doesn't have to be perfect, but every decision you make, you're going to feel literally a sense of your energy returning back to you. All right, so those are the 3 steps. Download, decide what really matters, and then decide what to do about everything. When you take the time to do this, you are literally aligning your identity and your to-do list with your actual time. And then the beautiful thing happens. Peace stops being some aspirational thing that we're hoping comes to us, and it starts being our actual reality that we get to enjoy and live. Peace stops being aspirational and it becomes inevitable. All right. So in closing, remember, it's unmade decisions that are creating the mental clutter that's stealing your space, your energy, and your enjoyment of your life. But when you decide ahead of time what to think on, then that is one way that you can protect your peace. But remember, it is these unmade decisions, our mental clutter, that is a contributing factor to our physical clutter. So if you have had the experience of decluttering constantly and never getting to the end of it, then perhaps it's because mental clutter is creating more physical clutter in your life. All right. And next week, I'm going to talk about the physical clutter, dealing with that. Okay. So tell me in the comments below, what unmade decision are you ready to deal with today? And if you'd like even more, I have a free tool for you. It's called the 1-Minute Decision Filter, and it's 3 simple yet powerful questions that will have you making decisions more confidently in under a minute. So if you would like that, go to aprilbragg.com/decide to download it. And until next time, may you feel time rich, because that is the abundant living way. All right. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.